Alright, let's get into it. You hear the term floating city and your mind probably jumps to some science fiction movie with spaceships hovering over a planet. But hold on, this isn't make-believe anymore. A floating city is exactly what it sounds like. A city that floats on top of the water. We're not talking about a bunch of houseboats tied together with some rope. I'm talking about a real, honest-to-goodness community home shops, schools, parks all built on massive platforms that rest on the surface of an ocean, a lake, or a bay. It's a serious piece of engineering, designed to be a permanent place for people to live and work. Think of it like a giant man-made island, but one that can rise and fall with the tide. Instead of digging deep foundations into the ground, builders create huge, buoyant structures. These platforms are often modular, meaning they are built in smaller, connected pieces, almost like giant Lego bricks. This allows the city to grow or change its shape over time. The whole thing is anchored to the seabed with strong cables, so it doesn't just drift off into the sunset. It's a bold idea, taking what we know about building on land and flipping it on its head. It's about working with the water, not against it. These aren't just glorified cruise ships either. Cruise ships are designed for travel, to move from one port to another. A floating city is designed to stay put. It's meant to be a stable, long-term home. The engineering behind this is pretty clever. They use concrete and other heavy-duty materials to build platforms that are incredibly stable, so you wouldn't feel like you're on a boat during a storm. The goal is to make life on the water feel as normal and comfortable as life on land, but with a much better view and a whole lot more water around you. It's a different way of thinking about where we can put down roots. So, when we talk about these projects, we are talking about a fundamental shift in how we see our world. For centuries, we've been limited to the 30% of the Earth that is dry land. We've fought over it, built on it, and in many places we've run out of room. The folks behind these floating cities are looking at the other 70% of our planet, the part covered in water, and seeing not an obstacle, but an opportunity. Head over to South Korea, Busan. Right there, in its waters, they're building the world's first prototype large-scale floating city. It's called Oceanix Busan. They're actually building it. It's a partnership between the city of Busan Oceanix and the United Nations. When the UN gets involved, you know it's serious. Imagine interconnected platforms floating in the harbor. Each platform is a hexagon, like a honeycomb. Close-up, hex platforms with timber buildings and urban farms. The first phase, about 15.5 acres. Designed for around 12,000 residents, but it's designed to grow. They can add more hexes over time, expanding toward 100,000 people or more. Now let's travel from the busy port of Busan to a place most of us think of as paradise. The Maldives. This nation is a collection of over 1,000 small, beautiful islands in the Indian Ocean. But this paradise is in serious trouble. The Maldives is the lowest-lying country in the world, with most of its land just a few feet above sea level. For them, rising sea levels aren't a future problem. They are a direct threat to their entire existence. So, what do you do when your country is slowly disappearing? You learn to float. Right next to the capital city, Male, they are building something truly special, the Maldives Floating City. This isn't just a small prototype, it's a full-scale city designed to house 20,000 people. It's being built in a warm, turquoise lagoon, just a 10-minute boat ride from the capital and its international airport. The project is a joint effort between the government of the Maldives and a Dutch company that specializes in floating architecture. The Dutch, of all people, know a thing or two about living with water. The design is inspired by traditional Maldivian culture. The city will be made up of a series of hexagonal segments, similar to Oceanix Busan, but the look and feel will be uniquely Maldivian. Imagine colorful houses, shops, hotels, and restaurants all floating in a pattern that looks like a brain coral. The city will be organized into a system of canals and waterways, just like Amsterdam or Venice, but in the middle of a tropical paradise. People will get around by walking, biking, or taking small electric boats and water taxis. No cars, no fumes, just the sound of the water. It's a head-scratcher. So, you might be asking yourself, Mike, this sounds like a lot of work. Why would anyone go through the trouble of building a city on the water? The short answer is, we have to. Take a look around. Our planet is getting crowded, and in many coastal areas the water levels are rising. For generations we built cities next to the ocean. Now that ocean is threatening to swallow them up. It's a slow-motion problem, but it's real. We're running out of space, and the space we have is becoming more dangerous. People aren't building these for fun. Well, maybe the engineers are. They're solving very real, very dirty problems. Climate change is the big one. Ice caps melt, sea levels rise. Miami, Venice, Jakarta are facing constant flooding. Instead of building bigger seawalls that might fail, some ask, what if we just float on top? A floating city rises with the sea. It's a clever adaptation. Another reason, overcrowding. Population is still growing, and most people want city life. Land and housing costs spike, making it impossible for regular folks to find a decent place to live. Cities sprawl over farmland and habitats. Floating cities create new space without destroying land, expand onto the water, ease pressure on land, create options and preserve green space. Finally, starting fresh. Build from scratch to be better, generate clean energy from the sun and waves, handle waste on site and turn it into resources. Make walkable communities with fewer cars and more green space. Fix past mistakes and build cleaner, smarter cities. It's massive work, but the rewards could be huge. They can also protect marine ecosystems. It's a tough job, but the payoff could be huge. So, what would it actually be like to wake up in a floating city? Let's put aside the engineering and the big ideas and think about daily life. Well, for starters, your alarm clock might be the gentle sound of water lapping against the platform beneath your home. You'd look out your window not at a busy street filled with cars, but at a calm canal or the open ocean. Your morning commute might not involve a crowded subway or a traffic jam. Instead, you might walk across a bridge to a neighboring platform or hop on a small, quiet electric ferry to get to your office. Your home itself would feel solid and stable. These aren't rickety houseboats. The platforms are so large and heavy that you wouldn't feel the motion of the waves. The buildings are constructed with modern, lightweight materials, but they are built to be permanent homes, with all the comforts you'd expect on land. Electricity, running water, high-speed internet. The biggest difference would be your backyard. Instead of a patch of grass, you might have a small deck right on the water, where you could go for a swim, launch a kayak, or just sit and watch the marine life below. After work, life would revolve around the water and the community. Instead of heading to a crowded mall, you might go to a floating market where local vendors sell fresh produce grown in the city's own greenhouses. Kids could play in parks and playgrounds built right on the platforms, completely safe from traffic. Community centers, schools, libraries. The layout of these cities is intentionally designed to encourage people to interact, to get out of their homes and spend time with their neighbors in shared public spaces. It's a return to a more traditional, village-like way of life. And of course, there's the connection to nature. Living on a floating city means you are constantly surrounded by the ocean. You would be more in tune with the tides, the weather, and the seasons. You could go fishing or diving right from your neighborhood. This constant interaction with the marine environment would likely foster a deeper respect for it. When the ocean is not just something you visit on vacation, but is literally your front yard, you become more invested in its health. It's a different kind of living, one that's more connected to the natural world, even in the middle of a modern city. The possibilities are as vast as the ocean itself. It's a whole new frontier for human settlement, and we are just starting to explore it. So, the next time you look out at the ocean, don't just see an empty expanse of water. See an opportunity. See a canvas for human ingenuity. These floating cities are a testament to our ability to adapt and innovate when we're faced with a tough job. And it looks like a big part of that future is going to be wet. And you know what?